Sporting Journal Radio, presented by Onyx.
You know, and that brings up another discussion, and maybe this discussion is for another day, Joe, but it ties into the amount of pressure that's getting put on not just Lake of the Woods, but a lot of lakes, whether it's from wheelhouse usage or, better electronics. So, David, we were talking about Panoptics a little bit and live scope and how that's affected your fishing. And nowadays, everybody's got these forward-facing sonar technology, it seems like, in their boats or in their fish houses if they're out there in the wintertime. Another biologist sent out a fishing report on one of our lakes, and he said that a lot of people have been bringing up to him, you know, what is this additional pressure and these increased... the argument always comes up. Every time there's an advancement in electronics, it's like, oh, here we go. You know, underwater cameras, they're gonna catch every fish in the lake, and, you know, better electronics come out. They're gonna catch every fish in the lake, and obviously you still have to catch the fish. But we've talked a lot about how what it is going to do, probably, all these things, all this pressure, COVID, the increase in license sales, the increased pressure, there's definitely fish getting caught. They're probably going to lower limits, I'd assume, and not just on, you know, maybe Lake of the Woods. I know you guys have altered limits here in the recent years, but I think everywhere you're just going to end up seeing a decrease in limits in harvest and what you can catch. What does that mean from a tourism perspective? That's always hard, right? Because you don't want any sort of negative, oh, you can't keep as many fish now, but at the same time, you have to look to the future for sustainability, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say a few things on that. So first off, it's my understanding that when they came out with Vexilars, that people said, oh man, the fish don't have a chance now. And then it was underwater cameras, and now it's the Panoptics or forward-facing sonars or the Humminbirds or whatever. You know, so I don't know what it means, but I'll tell you what, number one, and I know the DNR takes a lot of hits. Yeah. Very thankful for our local DNR biologists because, you know, we're a large lake. So consequently, we have large lake specialists that work on our lake every single year, and they're keeping information as far as test netting, seine netting, creel surveys, documenting how much pressure's on our lake. You know, all those stats that we can look for trends. And that really helps, I think, those guys make a guesstimation on, you know, is our lake healthy? Is the fishing pressure on our lake sustainable? Is it that, you know, because we have that slot limit, 19.5 to 28 inches, right now the DNR believes that our lake is sustainable, meaning it's not in trouble. However, if you take 10 walleyes and put them in a bathtub and have 2 anglers fishing, and now you add 2 more anglers, you know, perhaps the same amount of fish are going to be caught, maybe a little bit more, but you're just dividing them more. So your catch rate per person goes down. I mean, those are all things to consider. How come we're not catching as many of those nicer walleyes as we used to? Well, looking at right now, we can see that there is a not a real good spawning class coming all the way through, and we're marking what they think is in the lake is typically what anglers are catching. I'll tell you the other thing. When the winter is over, we always hear stuff in February because February is a tougher month of ice fishing. When we get out in that open water and people start catching these nice walleyes because they can move around and stuff, the comments, where in the heck were these fish in February?
In the winter.
You know what I mean?
I feel like that happens every year.
Exactly. It does happen every year. And so anyway, I think the DNR's perspective, and I don't want to speak for them, but I can tell you what I've heard is that, hey, listen, you know, we're not saying everything is perfect. We're not worried like things are in danger, but what we're looking at is, hey, let's manage this thing. Let's take a look at it. And let's take a look at it every single year. In fact, I'm part of the Lake of the Woods Fisheries Input Group, which we're meeting at the end of the month. And, you know, we'll get a state of the lake report. We'll get an idea of what folks are thinking. So, but again, it's all these things. Hey, here's the other thing. You want to talk about technology, put more pressure on fish? You know, we talk about wheelhouses. And like anything in life, there's pros and cons. You know, wheelhouses are tough in the sense that there's so many more people fishing. They have lines down 24/7 because it's so comfortable to be out on the ice. Now, the flip side of that, the positive side is, boy, it's getting people and kids and families out ice fishing that maybe otherwise wouldn't be fishing. It's really comfortable. It's enjoyable. So there's pros and cons to everything in life. And the bottom line is it does put more pressure, I think, on our fisheries. So every lake, every river has to be managed in a way that it's going to be sustainable. People naturally think that, oh, Joe, you're part of the resort community up at Lake of the Woods, so you want to keep as much as you can for the resorts. That is not true. Our perspective of the majority of our resort owners is that I have my business on this natural resource that really I rely on so people come up and visit me. I'm looking at sustainability first and then other things second, because without the natural resources, I have nothing.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, I work with a lodge in Saskatchewan where pretty much everything is all catch and release because we want to protect that fishery. And obviously we're not up there trying to catch walleyes for a fish fry or anything. It's a little bit different situation. But when you have the trophy fishing that you have at Lake of the Woods, I'll say it 100 times, that slot limit is about the best thing that could have happened up there for big fish catching. And our trip up there this summer, I mean, we've never caught more walleyes on a fishing, more big walleyes like that on a fishing trip. And a lot of them were in that slot.
I get some people criticizing that slot limit, and everybody has the right to their opinion. I respect it. I will say this, and I've guided on Lake Erie where they keep every fish. But, if our slot limit on Lake of the Woods is 19 and a half to 28 inches must be returned to the water. You can keep 1 over 28 if you want to mount. And, of course, you keep your fish under 19 and a half. Number one, the fish under 19 and a half are the best eaters. Yeah. When you come out with a plate of fish, which pieces of fish get taken first? It's the small ones. It's because they taste the best. Number two, why is it 19 and a half to 28? On Lake of the Woods, a 19 and a half inch female walleye becomes reproductive fish. So that's why it starts at 19 and a half. Thirdly, if we didn't have a slot limit, how many of those 25 inch fish or everything around them would be going in coolers and going home?
Yeah. I'm shocked when I see those pictures from Erie of those 10 pounders getting slabbed, people keeping all those big fish. I can't believe it.
Well, and I'll tell you, and when I first moved out there, I tell you what, I was on a head boat and I threw a 25 incher back over the side of the boat. And I thought I was going to get lynched. I mean, honest to goodness, they couldn't believe I threw that fish back. And it's just culture. But you know what? Yeah. Out of fairness to that wonderful natural resource, it's a good walleye lake, and they just keep producing so many walleyes. They believe the lake can withstand that pressure. There's a lot of lake out of Lake Erie. A lot of that lake doesn't get fished.
Hear more at sportingjournalradio.com or wherever you get podcasts.
Come ice fish the famous waters of Minnesota's Lake of the Woods, the walleye capital of the world. Experience full-service resorts featuring heated fish houses, ice transportation, meal plans, and sleeper house options. From the Northwest Angle to the South Shore, Rainy River, and Baudette, the Midwest's #1 ice fishing destination. Walleye, sauger, perch, and northern pike. Minnesota's Lake of the Woods, best fishing anywhere. For more information, log on to lakeofthewoodsmn.com.